Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the roll call reflect all members are present with the exception of Director Molnar. 4.0 student rep information.
Hello. Not much going on in the upcoming few days or recently. We all just got back from Thanksgiving, and I've heard wonderful stories about everyone else's Thanksgiving. Some of our teachers said if you help your parents with the dishes and tell them about school, we might give you a few extra credit points just to help out with the cleaning. So a lot of kids brought in notes to some of their teachers saying, I really did help with the dishes. So their parents appreciated that. One Act will be starting practices tomorrow. We're all very excited and looking forward to it. Boys hockey has started and girls hockey. They're really excited for their game this Thursday, and they're really pumped about it, so I hope they win. Boys swimming starts tonight, I believe. And then for sports this week, on Tuesday, girls hockey versus Moose Lake at Hoyt Lakes. Girls basketball versus Hermantown, and I believe that's here. On Thursday, we have girls hockey at Hibbing and boys hockey versus Chaska at home. And the girls basketball team is really feeling the loss of Avery this season. Avery was 53 points away from getting the 1,000-point ball, so her teammates are going to play to the 1,000 points and give the ball to her grandparents. So we're all very excited for that. And if none of you knew, tonight the speech team is holding a movie night. So the 4 captains went to Gilbert today, and they just kind of showed what speech is all about, the different categories, and how much fun it actually is. And we usually have a few people go to state every year, and so they just wanted to show how much fun it really is, and it's not just reading from a piece of paper and then just calling it quits. And so they're having a movie night. Their movie choices were The Greatest Showman, The Grinch, or an all-time favorite, Shrek. So I think they're watching The Greatest Showman tonight. There's a movie, they have leftover pizza upstairs, and there's actually a lot of turnout, a lot of junior high kids. So, thank you.
Thank you. 5.0 agenda additions and deletions. We're going to discuss the survey stuff or no?
Yeah, during my report.
Okay. 6.0 visitor input. Anybody sign
Didn't you have an addition?
That comes for under approving the agenda.
Will we still have
And-
to add it? Would we have to
Okay.
add it though?
Okay. So 5.0 agenda additions and deletions, I will hand out the resolution. I received a second opinion from another attorney regarding filling the vacancy for Director Molnar. And all the board members received an email from her today as well. And I will also hand out the email in case you were not able to read yours today. And this is attorney-client privilege, so this will not be at the public table.
And just for the record, the resolution you're adding to the agenda is public, but the email
Correct.
will not, right?
Correct. So the resolution, I did put a copy of that on the table. That is public, and I,
Resolution would be 12.4 under new business.
correct. So agenda additions, I'm asking to have added as 12.4, approve the amended resolution declaring the vacancy on the Eveleth Gilbert Board of Education.
For a matter of topic, can we discuss at that time or add another item for the appointment procedure, since now it's going to be a little bit different in lieu of the email we received today? Or should we have
Well,
that discussion during?
We'll have that
application?
discussion because it really, there's only one part that's really potentially could be different, or is different. But we'll have that discussion when we get there. Okay, so agenda addition 12.4. Approve the amended resolution declaring the vacancy. We don't need to have a motion for that because we'll do that in 7.0, correct? 6.0 visitor input. Anybody sign up? Not me, I'm not either. 7.0 approve the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda, to approve the agenda with the amended part to include the approval of the amended resolution declaring a vacancy on the Eveleth Gilbert School Board of Education as a result of the email we received from the legal counsel today stating we need to amend our process to fill the vacancy for Director Mullner.
Okay. Motion by Sather. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Support by Addie. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8.0 approve the treasurer's report for the second check writing of November.
Well, for the second check writing of November, we had disbursements of $356,863.83, and that's it.
Also move we accept the treasurer's report as read.
Motion by Gentilini, support.
Support.
Support by Seda. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 consent agenda. A, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Monday, November 12th, 2018, and the special meeting of Monday, November 19th, 2018. B, approve the resignation of assistant swim coach. C, approve the first reading of the 600 series policy revisions. And D, approve the first reading of the 900 series policy revisions. Do we have a motion?
I move.
Support.
Motion by Addie, support by Gentilini. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nothing removed. Moving on to 11.0 personnel. 11.1 approve the .3 FTE additional teaching assignment for George Harridan.
Madam Chair, Mr. Harridan's already on board for .8 with the resignation of the other .3. We're unable to find anyone else, and Mr. Harridan's willing to pick that up for the rest of the year.
It is what?
It's an overload in second semester by appointment.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Peterson, support by Gentilini. Any discussion?
Thank you very much, Mr. Harrigan.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 11.2, approve the school readiness aid position for Sarah Finley.
Madam Chair, this is part of the new class that the board created 1 month ago. Should be doing, is it 2 days a week, right?
No, she's doing up to 28 hours per
Oh,
week.
okay. That's not what the sheet that you gave us said.
Says
Says
10
10
hours.
How much a week?
That's a mistake.
You want to amend that?
Can we amend that to up to 28 hours per week? This time, I apologize.
28 or 29, I'm sorry?
28.
We have a motion to approve the school readiness aid position for Sarah Finley with the amendment of allowing her 28 hours a week.
I'll second.
Motion by Peterson, support by Addy. Any further discussion?
Did that class start by now?
Yeah. Monday, right?
Today was the first orientation, and tomorrow is the first full day.
All right.
So, it's exciting.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 12.0 new business. 12.1 approve the second reading of the 400 series policy revisions. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Sather, support by Addy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 12.2, approve the second reading of the 500 series policy revisions. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Support.
Motion by Addy, support by Gentilini. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 12.3, discussion on MSBA Leadership Conference.
Madam Chair, it's that time of year again. We agreed last year that the board had decided anyone was going or not, they would have a request from one incoming member. Haven't talked to the other one yet, but just wondering what the board wants them to go, or some of you want to go, or whatever you want to do, we'll make that happen.
I think it should be up to the individual. If they want to go, they can go. I'm not going to go this year.
I think what he's asking for is board authorization. I'm fine with that.
I agree.
Okay,
Whoever wants to go.
thank you.
Yep. 12 point,
Probably need a motion.
And we could probably do that.
a motion to approve.
Well, just a.
Whoever would like to go to the MSBA conference is allowed to.
Kind of open-ended, but.
It just says, well, it just
Okay,
says
board
discussion.
member.
Do we need a motion on it?
I suppose you can approve the expenses later. I mean, you have direction at this point, yeah.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Once the expenses come in, you can approve it.
All right, 12.4, approve the amended resolution declaring the vacancy. So I will be asking for a motion.
So we didn't really get a chance to read this. I mean, we just.
Go ahead and take a minute to read it if you'd like.
It's quite lengthy.
Go ahead and take a minute to read it.
Well, while they're reading that, extend the invitation to Matt, January 7th through the 9th, I believe it is. Let me check this thing.
That was like the 17th and 18th.
Is that right? 17th or 18th. If you want to go, contact us. I know Polly has contact with her. So.
We'll have discussion after. We had a couple more seconds, I think. About one second. Ready, Tom? Are you done reading? You're done. Okay, so I'm going to be asking for a motion to approve the following resolution.
Resolution number 669, amended resolution declaring vacancy on Board of Education. Whereas Board Member Derek Mullner is completing his first term on the Board of Education with Independent School District 2154, Eveleth, Gilbert, and has been re-elected to another 4-year term of office to commence in January 2019. Whereas Mullner had advised the board that his military unit has been called for active duty overseas in a war zone, and that therefore he has been unable to serve on the board or attended its meetings for a period of not less than 90 days. Whereas the board desires and intends to proceed in accordance with Minnesota Statute 123B.09, Subdivision 4, to declare a vacancy with the intent of filling that vacancy at the earliest possible time for the remainder of Mullner's current term of office. Whereas the appointee shall continue with the successor until a successor is appointed and qualifies. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Independent School District number 2154 as follows. 1, the board hereby declares that a vacancy exists because of the prolonged absence of Director Derek Mullner for the remainder of his current unexpired term and until such time as a successor is appointed and qualifies. 2, that a process be put in place to fill the vacant position as soon as is reasonable and practical.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion.
Do we have a second? I will support by Chad. Any discussion?
Bill, did you want to?
Yeah, I'm just more so, so what's changed from the first resolution to the second, to this
So
resolution?
essentially what the difference is between the first resolution and the second resolution, keep in mind there's a lot of legal jargon that, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding, and again, this is attorney-client privilege, but my understanding is that the main difference is our initial resolution stated that the person appointed will fill this current term as well as the next term, and it can only be for the current term. So we put on an advertisement asking for applicants and resumes, and then we would do interviews. That can still hold true for this term, and according to what the attorney said, that person can hold over until the board in January basically declares another vacancy, is what I'm understanding, and appoints somebody. It could be the same person or somebody new, but it kind of, one of the things that it kind of depends on, or it does depend on, is whether or not we have contact with Director Mullner in January as to whether, you know, or not he's accepting or declining his nomination and taking the oath. And he can take the oath, my understanding, through writing, but he can take the oath through writing, and if he does that, then we can, in January, appoint somebody to fill his term until he returns, if he does so in writing. If not, then my understanding is the person could hold over until we, as a board, either declare someone new, or we do have to have a special election if he does not.
I mean, Madam Chair, if I may,
Swear.
the way I understood reading this afternoon when I got the email is that regardless of whether the seat is vacated by him temporarily or vacated by him not oathing the seat per se,
Yeah.
the new board would have to reappoint his seat because this board cannot appoint the seat that he hasn't even vacated yet.
Because he hasn't been sworn in.
Yeah, so, and it says, the way I understand it is an appointment today could maintain that position until the next board reappoints that seat. And it could be that appointee or it could be a new appointee.
Correct.
And then the only difference would be is if that board was appointing it to fill up to a special election, say he didn't take the oath, or if that person was appointed to fill up until he gets on active duty.
Correct. That's the way I
Yes,
understand it.
that was
Yeah.
my understanding too, yeah.
That being said, if I may, I think this changed the scope of the appointment conversation, in my opinion, to the extent that I'm almost could be on the same side of what Tom was bringing last time about it may be more feasible to leave this seat vacated for a meeting or two until the next board comes in, because that particular person at this stage, in theory, could participate in the reorganizational meeting, but then another person could be reappointed.
I would.
You know what I'm saying?
I would wait for that to happen to someone, yeah.
And that's, being a meeting or two into it affect the new board's reorganizational structure, and maybe that person not even be able to participate in that next board because of that.
Yeah.
That's only I guess my suggestion to the appointment is in lieu of us amending this, maybe that appointment thing would be invalid, and we should have that discussion. And that's all I would suggest at this stage, is figure out what everybody else would say.
I understand what you're saying as well, but my concern is what happened at our last meeting is a 3-3 vote. I mean, I understand that other boards are comprised of 6 board members, and and that has the potential of happening, but our board is a 7-person board. And my feeling is, I don't want to have a situation like that come up where we have uneven numbers again, and what do we do? Do we table it? What do we do? I think it's our responsibility to fill that position. And as a board, I don't know, that's how I feel about it. I just feel it's important to fill it.
I just see that we should just appoint somebody in January, like Mike said, having somebody sit in for a little bit, it's gonna change the dynamic of like a reorganizational meeting. I mean, that's my opinion.
Thought? I mean, I get it would only potentially be one meeting because we're not having 2 meetings in December, or 2 meetings aren't planned at the moment, but I get that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to just do for one term if it's one meeting. But again, she said that the person can hold over. And my understanding was that person can remain in that position until we appoint somebody new.
I guess the concern that I have, I get what Mike and Bill are saying too, but with that being said, that doesn't mean the board come January 14th is going to be ready to have a 7th member coming in that day. And we're still going to continue to have business, and we still need to continue to move. So with that being said, we still have decisions that still have to be made while that new board decides on getting a board member in place. Whether it's, if we end up appointing someone now, or we end up, if they, I mean, it's still gonna create a gap. Someone's not gonna be ready January 14th when the new members are sworn in. So it's not like we're talking just 1 month, we're talking another 2 months at best. I mean.
Well, here's the other thing, I mean, think of the possible conflict. If you were gonna appoint somebody and that person wanted to be reappointed, you still technically, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that person couldn't vote or would be biased to vote against the other person, you know, their other appointees.
Right.
If, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of, it's a really, I mean, let's keep in mind, I mean, this is probably not right to even say, but I mean, it was suggested to Mr. Mullner not to run for this exact situation, that it would put our district in a...
But none of us brought it up, though, none of us.
And I
None of
wouldn't,
us-
I wouldn't,
right.
and I
No.
personally wouldn't bring that
And
up.
we never would have thought that this would have happened, but here we are. I mean, in the event that we don't hear from him, I mean, now we're probably looking at a special election.
For sure.
Unfortunately, because that costs the district money.
So what, because we have already put out the newspaper ad for the applicants. I mean, what would be the process if we
Hand them over to the next board.
moved it to,
Well, I mean, you can advertise for positions all you want, that doesn't mean you have to hire someone. The board doesn't want to.
I mean, I would just say at this stage of, you know, an outgoing member, I mean, I wouldn't, at this stage of the game, feel comfortable to go through an appointment process that would influence the next board's reorganizational meeting, if that makes sense. Before, we were talking about an appointment that would carry on to his other side of his deployment. This changed kind of the scope of this process to
yeah, I
me.
agree.
It's a whole different situation now.
That's how I feel.
What do we have that precedent coming up in December right now that you're gonna fill this position for one meeting?
Truth in taxation.
And then, you know, and then let the new board decide to
Yeah,
fill that
never know.
position or whatever, and we still don't know direct amount of months to do that. He has to be contacted by understanders.
Well, he has to, the attorney will contact Director Mullner and
The
let him know
attorney will?
what, the attorney will contact Director
Or
Mullner.
try, attempt, right?
Attempt, and try to notify him as to what he needs to do if he wants to remain on the board, and be sworn in for that January meeting. But if he is unreachable and we can't reach him, it vacates that spot. And he's supposed to be allowed a reasonable amount of time to respond to us. And if he doesn't, it's a special election. It's a
I
vacancy.
mean, so at that point, you declare a permanent vacancy.
Yeah.
So then,
That goes to the special.
And you're gonna
Right.
appoint.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for the record, we met last Monday when we spoke, I mean, to the district's official level, nobody has spoken to him since the beginning of October, right? Since that last correspondence?
Well, since the end of October, it would
Or
have
was it
been
the
the
end?
28th.
That last email that,
The
okay.
28th of October.
And
That's the last
there's been
contact.
attempts, and I was assuming there's been correspondence,
Right.
so.
Right.
I mean, at this stage,
So-
the district can only do a good faith effort to try to reach out, and if it happens, it happens, if it doesn't, it doesn't.
So I guess my concern is we have that current resolution out there that is not a valid, I mean, that's not a resolution that we want.
What resolution is that? This?
The one that we approved at that special meeting
To do the carryover.
to do the carryover.
Yeah, but this isn't amended to that,
Yes.
so that this
It's an amendment.
supersedes that.
Yes.
It is an amendment.
And I agree with this, just for the record, I just don't know how comfortable I feel about participating in the appointment process, and I think that should be delayed for another month. That's my
I think
stake on that.
this resolution should take place somewhere around the reorganization meeting or somewhere.
We have.
Oh,
we
you're
have to
saying don't
declare a
vacate this.
We have to declare
Oh, yeah,
vacancy
you
though,
do.
because we do have a vacancy.
Okay.
He has said that.
But we can choose how we fill it.
Okay,
I mean, we don't have, I mean, Bill, to just be straight, we don't have to meet to appoint. I mean, we could, or you guys could schedule that until January 14th to have that next conversation. And I mean,
well, I kind of got the idea that we want to try to fill this right away.
that's what we talked about last
Yeah,
week,
right.
but now I think the scope to me has changed that, in my opinion.
The information has changed, the legal
Right.
advisement has changed. I do still feel that it's important to have a 7-member board. Again, because of the incident that, or, the issue that happened last week. We do have to declare a vacancy because we have a vacancy. We have a vacancy for the current term, and we have a vacancy for, however long he's gone. We need to find out if he's going to, we have to wait, it's a waiting game, essentially, waiting to see if he is able to contact us and file the appropriate legal paperwork to be sworn in.
Because case in point, starting in January, depending on what kind of correspondence or not correspondence you'll have, that board will have to declare a new vacancy, is what I understand. So if
We
Bill
either
is,
appoint the person that, if we were to, continue with the process of advertising and getting resumes and applications, and if we did appoint somebody and swear them in on December 10th, that person, again, my understanding is that person would hold over until the next person is appointed.
Bill, are you suggesting that we not pass this resolution and just let it ride until next time when you pass that
Yes,
other?
that's correct.
I don't think that we can do that.
I mean, we can
Because-
declare a vacancy, but when we appoint, I think the appointment should be in January.
I agree with that.
The appoint, how we appoint is not part of the resolution though.
Oh,
It just says at the earliest convenience, if it's
So, I mean-
convenient for the board till
As soon as
January.
reasonable and practical.
Right, so we declare an appointment, I just don't want to be, don't want to be, but I just, okay, we're having a special meeting, all of a sudden comes out of nowhere that we're appointing somebody. I don't want that to happen.
I agree.
I don't want that to happen.
All we have to do is just appoint,
Well,
or,
Well, the
Declare the vacancy and then we,
would a new motion need to be made though, because we do have a current motion that was made in the last meeting to fill the vacancy, how,
but there was no timeline.
There was no date to
There's
it.
no date.
You don't have to fill it.
We don't have to fill it.
okay.
We don't have,
Actually, we have the minutes right here.
we don't have to fill it for this current term if we
Right.
don't want to fill it. But what I'm looking at on the resolution that was amended, it says the board hereby declares that a vacancy exists because of the prolonged absence of Director Mullner for the remainder of his current unexpired term and until such time as a successor is appointed and qualifies.
Okay, at which time, where's that out here?
But it's discussing his current unexpired term. And that, I guess that's the
May I
wording
offer a
that I,
suggestion, Madam Chair?
yes.
If it's the will of the board not to fill this vacancy that exists, just vote to rescind the last, make a motion to rescind the last resolution. Just be done. Because this resolution has nothing to do with January. In January, if he hasn't done his own,
You gotta start over.
you gotta start over.
Right,
I mean, what you're doing right now is just for basically December 10th.
because somebody was sitting for one meeting, then we have to start over.
So, I mean, if it's the board's will not to do that, just rescind resolution, whatever it was.
667. It is a separate, different number, so either way, we probably have to address that. Because this resolution doesn't address that previous resolution anyway.
Okay,
So
so
you're procedurally right, there's a motion
on the
on
table.
the table. You'd have to vote on that, one way or the other. You can vote no if you want, you can vote yes.
Okay,
And then you can choose to make a motion to rescind 667 if you so.
okay. So if we,
It's in the minutes here.
Randy?
That's the, I don't think that's the right minutes, because that was like a special meeting.
Oh, what did I just do?
Yeah, it was 668.
Oh, so it was a different resolution.
668.
668.
So you're rescinding 668.
668?
If that's what you want to do, that's just my suggestion.
Sorry, just, I didn't hear you.
Okay, so do we have to know who made that motion from the previous resolution?
No, it passed.
No,
It doesn't matter.
It already passed. That one's taken care of. So if you have a motion on, and a second on the table right now.
So we need to vote on it.
You have a vote on it.
Okay. We got a motion and a second.
And it's a roll call.
Roll call vote.
Randy, I have some important information.
Okay, I will allow it.
Thank you. Even if you appointed somebody for the remainder of Derek's unexpired term, that person cannot take his or her seat for 30 days. So that changes the whole ballgame. That would bring it past December 31st. That's what the statute says.
That's true.
I actually think it's different for the resignation. It's irregardless.
Ill and absent members is 30 days.
Either way. I mean, it's
Either
just-
way, we have a motion and a second, so
Okay,
we
roll
need to
call.
take a roll call.
Director Addy.
This
this
to declare a
is-
vacancy.
This is on the,
Approving the amended
This-
resolution declaring
this
vacancy on
amended
Board of
one.
Education.
Yes.
Do you understand what we're asking?
You want to?
You want to pass this?
Our plan is to
oh,
rescind
okay.
668.
Do you plan
Oh,
to?
okay, hang on.
That's what we're discussing. I just want to clarify, okay.
Okay.
Clarifying, what's on the table right now is a motion to amend the resolution declaring vacancy on the board. This is the amended one. So that's what the motion is to vote yes or vote no on to amend. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words.
Voting yes would
The vote-
basically declare a vacancy, voting no would say no, we don't want to declare the vacancy at this time.
I'll say no. Oh.
We're on. Okay, and we're not.
Director Sather is no. Director Lotiger,
No.
Director Peterson.
No.
Director Mueller is absent. Director Gentilini.
No.
Director Chad.
No.
Okay. That failed 6-0 with one absent.
Motion does not pass. So do we have a motion to rescind the previous resolution 668?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Peterson,
Support.
support by Chad. Any further discussion?
Just to further, so we're all on the same page. This is to rescind our previous resolution in order to vacate our Director Mueller's seat in the anticipation that the next board will deal with that vacancy. I mean, that's kind of what we just talked in circles about for.
And the previous resolution said that we were going to fill his current term and the term upcoming in January, which is not appropriate.
I suppose we don't necessarily need a roll call because we're just rescinding the resolution, or does it hurt you?
We'll just take one, just to be on the safe side. So the motion was by Peterson, support by Chad. Roll call, please.
Okay, Director Sather is a yes. Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Mueller is absent. Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Chad,
Yes.
Director Addy.
Yes.
That passes 6-0, one absent.
Okay. So motion passes to rescind resolution 668. All right, are we all square? We good?
I think we're done.
Okay. Well,
Good luck.
that was difficult. But thank you, everybody, for being patient and for being understanding and making sure that we are abiding by the laws. I appreciate that.
And let's just hope that direct them on, we can make contact
Yeah.
with them
Yes.
to some degree.
One way or another.
Right.
So you guys answer the direction.
Yep. Okay, 13.0 administrative report and information.
We'll be quick tonight. Our enrollment today, 882 K-12, a little bump in the pre-K because of the new class coming online. 978. The only thing I got to report on the collaboration is the survey. We did meet last Monday, and the draft was sent out, and since then, Chair Lotiger and I, along with the Virginia side, met with the survey people to change a few things. Particularly, we took all the numbers out of it because they were confusing. I did send you late this afternoon, I sent you an updated version of that, and if you could take a look at that.
Was that the current draft that we sent out
That's,
afternoon?
yeah.
Okay.
If you could take a look at that tomorrow sometime and provide some feedback, appreciate
And,
that.
yeah, I highly suggest that people provide feedback on that because it, in my opinion, is a pretty big survey and pretty important survey, and we need to have people's input, so we send out something we're all comfortable with.
I looked at it briefly today and I was fine with it. It was kind of nice and generic, but broad. So it'll be
It's
nice
a lot
to
of
see.
information. It'll
Nice to
give
see
us-
what kind of impact comes back, if that's the list of it.
Yeah, I just, after Monday's meeting, when it first came out, I just had some time to look at it and feel totally comfortable with the way it was, and reached out to Jeff and Noel and expressed my concerns about it, so.
I just thought some of the questions were quite odd,
They were,
you know, just,
it's very pared down. Like I said, you have suggestions on it.
Perfect.
Moving on to what's going on in the buildings. Kind of a weird stretch the last 2 weeks, because we had a couple days off for no heat 1 week and Thanksgiving last week, so we haven't seen the kids a whole lot. But on that note, the steam pipe has been repaired, it is holding. There's still a big hole in the parking lot there. You need to insulate the pipes in the area.
I was told that the heat has never been better up at the Franklin.
It's been good.
That's
Yeah, good pressure.
Yes, you said.
Probably the first time in a few years. So, we did, amidst all that, we did have conferences up at the Franklin. We did have to cancel one night and reschedule to the following Monday. Our attendance was great this year. We were over 90% of our parents showed up, so it was good. I also like to thank the PTA and all the volunteers that they also had to muddle through that mess. We had 2 days off there that they had everything scheduled and whatnot, and they worked through that and did a nice job. And great fundraiser for the Franklin. Go ahead.
All right, we've got a few making the cut offerings here. I lost a few ties. Fifth graders, we had making the cut 3 weeks ago. Riley Nelson, Maxine Lossing, Jace Audio. Congratulations on them. Our theme this month has been caring on the Gilbert campus. We have our sixth graders here making the cut around caring as well. Blake Shunk, Joseph Koloski, and Chelsea Jacka. Fine young sixth graders. And in the seventh grade, we had 3 students last week make the cut: Cyrus Johnson, Marissa Anderson, and Chloe Ledoux. Thank them for their caring ways at our school. Moving on, Mr. Coons last week was doing a Civil War reenactment in the 7th grade U.S. history class. You can see he's real into it there, and some of the kids are some of the troops lying on the floor. That's part of the whole scene. But very nice, good time in that class. And then also, since the last board meeting, or I guess the date of the last board meeting might have been our Veterans Day program. There's a nice article in the Hometown Focus, the November 23rd version of it. And I want to thank all the 5th grade for putting that on and everyone that came to the program. Thank you.
And at the high school, Mrs. Ballman, in the month of October,
And our independent living class invited people from the community to come and interview students in a mock interview situation. So I'd like to thank Jamie Linseth from the insurance agent from in town here for coming and doing that. Jacob Hamilton from the U.S. Army National Guard also came and provided interviews. Renee Prout from the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training. Chris Ismo, IRRB. Kelly McGregor, Essentia Health, Virginia. She works in the Human Resource Department. And Erica Bauman, who is Mrs. Bauman's daughter, came from Essentia Health. She's a nursing recruiter. So I would like to thank all of those community members in the area for coming and participating in the mock interviews in October. And then the last slide I have is the orchestra concert is this Thursday in Gilbert at 7 o'clock.
Next time we'll see you is Truth and Taxation, December 10th. And we're done for the year.
Okay. All right, that's it. 14.0, I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Sather, second by Addie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.